Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We're stepping away from, the usual deep dives into quarterly reports and geopolitical shifts. We're going a bit deeper into the philosophy of knowledge itself. Our source today is a really reflective text called Wisdom in the Shadow of Power. And it explores these ancient philosophical frameworks, specifically drawing on the Brahma Purana.
Right. And for those who might not be familiar, the Brahma Purana is one of the 18 major Puranas. It's this vast collection of Sanskrit texts from ancient Indian tradition.
And it's not just mythology, right? It's about cosmic creation, the moral and philosophical structure of existence. It's almost like a blueprint.
Exactly, a blueprint. So when we use this text, we're not digging for historical facts. We're looking for foundational principles, the rules of the system, if you will. And it raises this one central question, a question that I think we really need to spend some time on.
What's that?
What if true knowledge was meant to make us humble, not powerful?
I love that. I mean, that hook immediately disrupts our modern operating system.
It does.
We're so conditioned to believe knowledge is a tool for dominance, a way to win. So our mission today is really to dissect that argument, to trace the lines between just having information and having true wisdom.
And to understand why this ancient perspective is such a challenge to our relentless pursuit of knowledge as a means of control.
It's a complete reframing, isn't it?
A total reframing. If knowledge is supposed to create humility, then everything we measure, academic scores, market share, you name it, it all might be misaligned with what wisdom actually is.
So we're looking for the difference between the person who knows a lot and the person who understands a lot.
That's it, exactly.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. The genesis of this idea and the source. It kicks off with a fundamental realization, even for a creator like Brahma, that strength alone could not sustain balance.
And that's the crucial starting point. The idea that raw power, whether it's technical skill, physical strength, or just immense capital, is inherently incomplete.
It's not the whole picture.
Not at all. The source argues that if you have this huge capacity and you just try to apply it without any real insight, without understanding, power could become destructive.
So unchecked power is corrosive.
It's corrosive. I see that tension immediately. Our whole society rewards strength,
Yeah.
Speed, scale, volume of data.
Right. The bigger, the better.
We just assume if we push harder, faster, we solve the problem.
But this text is suggesting that very strength, if you apply it without a higher sense of the system it's impacting, actually becomes destabilizing.
It absolutely does. You can think of it like a feedback loop. If the default state of uninformed power is to be destructive, then true knowledge has to serve a different purpose.
Which is?
To introduce systemic awareness. It's a kind of intelligent constraint.
A boundary.
Yes, it defines the necessary boundaries that stop the whole system from collapsing. It says, okay, you can go this far, but if you go further, you break the whole thing.
That sets the stage so well. And maybe this is a good moment to just pause and ask yourself as you're listening. When have you seen that? When have you seen immense power in a big company, a political movement, even just a personal idea, become destructive because it was missing that context, that humility? The source tells us this is the constant risk when we choose strength over stability. Okay, so if we understand why knowledge has to exist to balance out that raw power, the next question is how we get it. And the text makes a really interesting point about the delivery method. It says knowledge was offered, not forced.
That phrase, offered, not forced, says so much about agency, about readiness.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if you try to force wisdom on someone, what happens? They'll probably reject it.
Or they'll just treat it like another piece of data to use for their own advantage.
Exactly. But voluntary acquisition.
Yeah.
That means the person receiving it is already showing they're ready. They're looking for balance, not just a bigger weapon. And then the source details the two outcomes, which depend entirely on that choice to seek it out. For those who sought it, they gained clarity, they got insight into the balance of things.
And for those who just ignored the offer,
they learned through consequence.
Wow. So you can't actually opt out of the lesson?
You can't.
The system just operates according to its own rules?
Yeah.
And you either engage with those rules and get clarity, the foresight of wisdom.
Or you stand back, watch things inevitably break down, and you learn your lesson through consequence.
It's the difference between preventative maintenance and catastrophic failure.
That's a great way to put it. Clarity is the reward for thoughtful engagement. Consequence is the painful, unavoidable tuition you pay when you ignore how things really work.
And so the lesson is coming, one way or another.
It's inescapable. The only choice you have is how you learn it.
Do you learn it now with clarity, or later, when the system forces the lesson on you with a major failure, a major negative
That's
consequence.
the choice.
Okay, so now we're getting to the heart of it. We know why knowledge is needed and how it's received. The source, with that reference to the Brahma Purana, then moves on to define what this true knowledge actually is.
And the definition is incredibly focused. It's not about what it lets you do to other people.
Right.
It's about what it allows you to see and how it guides your own actions. First, it brings discernment.
Discernment. Let's pause on that word. Because today, we often confuse that with just, data filtering.
Mm-hmm.
But this sounds deeper, more ethical, more systemic.
It is. It's the ability to know what not to do, even when you have the power to do it. It's judgment, informed by context and ethics.
Can you give an example?
Sure. An AI can process 1,000,000 data points on an investment in a second. That's information. But discernment is what tells you that, yes, it's a high-yield opportunity, but investing in it might destroy the local community's infrastructure.
Making the gain unsustainable.
Exactly. The information tells you the return. Discernment tells you the true cost.
And the second part of the definition.
That it guides wise action and restraint. It explicitly says its purpose is not dominance.
And this is where the source really flips the modern script. It reveals something I think is pretty surprising, that true knowledge was never meant to create superiority.
Right.
Instead, its whole purpose is to reveal two fundamental things about how the world works: interconnectedness and limitation.
And this is the core philosophical leap toward humility. Let's take interconnectedness first. If you truly see how everything is connected, you realize your success is tied to the health of the entire ecosystem.
So the idea of a lone winner becomes impossible.
Philosophically impossible. You can't win if the system you depend on is losing.
But the second one, limitation. This feels like a really hard sell today.
It is.
We're all taught to push limits, break boundaries, disrupt everything. So why is seeing our limits the key to wisdom?
Because seeing your limits is just an accurate self-assessment. That's what the text argues. If you know you're finite, that your time is limited, your resources are limited, your control is temporary, that realization forces you to act with restraint.
It stops you from seeking that impossible goal of absolute dominance.
It does. The person who doesn't see their limitations is the one who burns out their teams, their resources, and eventually themselves.
So humility, in this sense, isn't about being weak or small.
No, not at all. It's about being precisely right about your scale and your impact. It's understanding that power has to be managed, not just maximized.
So the path isn't about becoming all-powerful. It's about finding your specific, necessary place within the whole.
That's it.
Which is, a radical departure from the knowledge is power ideology that runs so much of our world.
Yeah.
So let's bring that philosophy now directly into our own experience. Let's talk about the human application of this. The source is very clear on the failure mode here. It says, information without wisdom leads to arrogance. We've all seen this. Think about someone who just memorized all the policy documents or learned a new complex skill. They have a ton of information.
Right.
But if they haven't internalized that sense of interconnectedness and limitation, that information just makes them arrogant.
And that arrogance is so dangerous because it shuts down curiosity. It blocks further learning.
You think you have the complete answer.
You're convinced of it. So you become resistant to feedback. You might win a debate, sure, but you'll probably fail as a leader because you can't see beyond the limits of your own perspective.
I see this all the time. Like in tech, someone might have data proving a new feature is possible and people want it.
Sure.
But the wisdom is knowing if rolling it out will fundamentally harm user behavior or break the support team. The arrogance of information says, we built it because we could.
While the humility of wisdom asks, should we? And at what cost to the whole system?
Exactly. Which brings us to the desired outcome. The text confirms that wisdom, real wisdom, brings humility.
And again, to be clear, this is not weakness. It's an accurate, robust self-assessment. Because the wise person understands their connection to others and the limits of their own control, they act with responsibility.
And that seems to be the final lesson here, the highest purpose.
It is. The source says knowledge only reaches its highest purpose when it leads directly to responsibility and compassion.
Because if you understand that you're part of this interconnected web,
You're naturally compelled to act responsibly toward that web.
so responsibility and compassion aren't just nice-to-have virtues. They're the predictable output of wisdom.
They're the logical conclusion. If I know my actions have ripple effects that genuinely impact you, I become inherently responsible for them.
And compassion just becomes rational self-interest, but applied more broadly.
It creates a kind of moral physics, doesn't it? If the goal of knowledge is balance and sustainability, then every act must be filtered through those two virtues: responsibility for the impact and compassion for everyone involved.
It elevates knowledge from just a tool you use to a moral compass you navigate with.
Yeah.
That is such a powerful way to frame it. This whole deep dive, drawing on the Brahma Purana in this text, it clarifies one essential moral. True knowledge leads to humility and wise action, not to arrogance.
And the moment you mistake your pile of data for genuine wisdom, that's when you start down the path toward imbalance and inevitable consequence.
Right.
And this leaves us with a final thought for you to take away. If we accept this framework, that knowledge's highest purpose is fostering responsibility and compassion, then think about your own life, your own work. What is one piece of profound knowledge you possess right now about yourself, your workplace, your community that you are currently maybe hoarding or just not fully using to serve that higher purpose?
What insight are you failing to convert into wise, compassionate action?
That's the real challenge.
Moving from just knowing to actually doing. Thank you for diving deep with us today. We hope this reflection helps you see the difference between just gathering data and truly gaining the wisdom needed for balance. We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.